The Rise of Fire, Shadows Before the Storm. The story of the Second World War does not begin with the first shot fired in 1939. Its roots go deeper, into the wounds left by the First World War and the desperate years that followed. In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles had punished Germany harshly. Territory taken away, its military reduced, and huge reparations to pay. For many Germans, this treaty felt less like peace and more like humiliation. Poverty, hunger, and anger grew in the years that followed. In this broken nation, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to power. Hitler promised to restore pride, rebuild the army, and give the German people a future of glory. His words were fiery, his vision dangerous, but to a suffering nation, it sounded like hope. Meanwhile, in Italy, Benito Mussolini had already taken control, dreaming of rebuilding the Roman Empire. In Japan, military leaders were expanding into Asia, seeking land and resources. The world was slowly being surrounded by aggressive powers, each hungry for conquest. The League of Nations, formed to keep peace, proved weak and powerless. When Japan invaded Manchuria in 1931, the League protested, but did nothing. In 1935, Mussolini's Italy invaded Ethiopia, using modern weapons against tribes armed with spears. Again, the world only watched. In 1936, Hitler sent his troops into the Rhineland, a region forbidden by the Treaty of Versailles. No one stopped him. Step by step, the aggressors grew bolder. In 1937, Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China. The brutality was shocking. The city of Nanjing saw massacres and horrors that revealed the true cruelty of war. The world trembled but remained silent. In Europe, Hitler's ambitions became clear. He spoke of uniting all Germans under one empire, the Third Reich. In 1938, he annexed Austria in what was called the Anschluss. Crowds in Vienna cheered as German troops marched in. No shot was fired, and yet a nation had disappeared. Later that year, Hitler demanded the Sudetenland, a region of Czechoslovakia. Britain and France, desperate to avoid another war, chose appeasement. At the Munich conference, they gave in to Hitler's demands, believing this concession would bring peace for our time. But peace was an illusion. Hitler saw appeasement as weakness. In March 1939, Hitler broke his promises and invaded the rest of Czechoslovakia. Europe now understood. He would not stop. That summer, the world was shocked when Germany and the Soviet Union signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a deal in which both powers secretly agreed to divide Poland between them. And then, on September 1st, 1939, the storm broke. German forces crossed into Poland with tanks, planes, and the speed of Blitzkrieg, lightning war. Within weeks, Poland was crushed. On September 3rd, 1939, Britain and France declared war on Germany. The Second World War had begun. The fire was lit, and soon it would engulf the entire world. The Blitzkrieg and the Lone Island. The world was now at war. On September 1st, 1939, Germany's armies stormed into Poland with a new kind of warfare, Blitzkrieg or lightning war. Tanks rolled forward in tight formations, supported by dive bombers screaming down from the skies. Within weeks, Poland was overwhelmed. And in the east, as agreed in the secret pact, the Soviet Union invaded from the other side. By the end of September, Poland had been wiped off the map. Britain and France had declared war, but in those early months, little happened on the Western Front. This strange calm was called the Phony War. Soldiers waited in trenches, civilians prepared for air raids, but no great battles came until the spring of 1940. In April, Hitler struck suddenly into Denmark and Norway, securing vital sea routes and resources. Then in May, the German war machine turned west. Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg fell in a matter of days. The speed and coordination of Blitzkrieg shocked the world. France, believed to have the strongest army in Europe, was next. German tanks bypassed the mighty Maginot Line, cutting through the Ardennes forest where few expected an attack. Paris fell in just 6 weeks. By June 1940, France had surrendered. The tricolor flag was replaced by the swastika over the Eiffel Tower. Europe was stunned. Hitler seemed unstoppable. Britain now stood alone. Winston Churchill, who had just become Prime Minister, refused to bow. "We shall fight on the beaches," he declared. "We shall never surrender." Hitler prepared for invasion, and the stage was set for the Battle of Britain. In the summer of 1940, the skies over England roared with combat. The German Luftwaffe launched wave after wave of bombers, aiming first at airfields and radar stations, then turning to the cities themselves. London, Coventry, and many others endured night after night of bombing in what became known as the Blitz. But Britain did not break. The Royal Air Force, using radar and sheer determination, fought back fiercely. Young pilots, the few, as Churchill called them, stood between Britain and defeat. By October, Hitler realized the invasion was impossible. It was his first major setback. Yet, the war was spreading. In 1940, Italy entered on Germany's side, attacking British positions in North Africa and the Balkans. German forces soon joined, and battles raged across deserts and mountains. Meanwhile, across the seas, Japan was tightening its grip on Asia. Its war in China dragged on with unspeakable brutality. Cities burned, millions suffered. The world was beginning to realize that this conflict was no longer European. It was becoming truly global. Then, in June 1941, Hitler made a shocking move. Breaking his pact with Stalin, he launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in history. Millions of German soldiers poured into the Soviet Union. At first, they advanced rapidly, capturing vast lands and surrounding entire Soviet armies. But the Soviet people resisted with staggering courage. Cities like Leningrad endured brutal sieges, while Moscow prepared for defense. The war had entered a new, even more destructive phase. Europe was burning, Britain was holding on, and now the Soviet Union was fighting for survival. The storm of World War II was far from over. It was only growing stronger.